Hey guys, welcome to the channel. This is Justin. I'm with Hatfield Custom Fishing Rods and I'm here to talk about the basics of rod building. Last video we covered finding the spine into the blank. You can find the link to that video down below if you haven't missed anything, and I'll do that as we go through this build. So we found the spine of this blank. Now we're going to go through and assemble the handle. What you're going to need for this is going to be obviously your handle components, your reel seat, your glue. Now this isn't the only glue that you can use. This is the one that came with the starter kit. That's not the only glue that you can use. I primarily use a U40 quick bond that bonds and cures much quicker than the Pro Paste, but for the sake of this video and the starter kit that this came with, we're just going to use this for today. So also going on a scrap piece of cardboard you're going to mix this up on. You're going to want to mix it in equal parts, 50-50. A spatula of some sort. A lot of guys will use a popsicle stick. You're going to want a wax pencil. For this sake, because it is a white blank, I'm going to use some tape to kind of make my original marks. But that's just a way that you can do it. And of course, you're going to want paper towel and your isopropyl alcohol just to clean up. And finally, to prepare your handles, we're going to use our CRV reamers. So to start, we're going to get our measurements. So first, I'm going to take my reel seat, and a lot of times I like to do this by feel first to kind of get an idea where I want my measurements to be. So for here, I'm going to kind of put it where I kind of feel like the balance is good on this blank. I also want to kind of just make sure that the blank, the handle's not too long, it's not too short. I want to kind of get a nice, good handle on it. So I can kind of also place these next to it, kind of get an idea of how much space I'm going to have there in this butt end of this rod. And that's going to give me a good idea of starting place. So I think that's actually pretty good. I'm actually going to make this just a tad longer. And I think that's a good spot for the reel seat, and that's going to give me a good starting point. So we're just going to pin that with my finger there. I'm going to make a tiny mark with my China marker. You can't really see it too well, but as long as I have that little piece there, it's fine. So now I'm going to put a little piece of tape there, right over my wax mark. And that's going to get covered up with glue and the reel seat, so I'm not super concerned about that spot and that tape being there because, like I said, that's going to get covered up. The next step we're going to do, we're going to go ahead and get out our reaming set. Now there are these Dreamweavers or Extreme Reamer set. They come in these, they can put in a drill or an actual handle, but for the sake of the video, we're going to use the hand reamers here. So you can get the starters here. Let me grab those. All right, for the sake of the video, we're going to start with these. So I'm going to start with the butt end here. And you're just going to kind of get that down. And this is going to be kind of a time-consuming process as you get started. And this is also where you're going to need a broom or a vacuum of some sort, and it's going to help you really clean up. So for the sake of the video, we're going to speed up this process as I go, so you can kind of watch this process as it's sped up. But yeah, you're just going to run that down and run that reamer through the entirety of this cork. And as you do get more dense cork or work with more dense cork, you're going to want to use a little bit more higher quality than these, because it is going to be much more difficult to hand ream these heavier materials as opposed to this cheaper store-bought cork. So I'm just going to kind of pull this through. There we go. And we're just going to repeat that process with the next one up. So now that we kind of have this reamed out, we're going to test fit to start. I'm just going to stick this down on through. Gives me an idea, and you can pull this into place. So I think I got a good spot here. I can just kind of pull this into place. It's going to be a nice snug fit as I twist it into place. And there we go. That's going to be, your butt cap is going to be set. And now for the actual seat itself, we're going to go ahead and do this one as well. So that one has a little bit bigger hole, so that one's going to make that a lot easier. And I'm just going to kind of ream that just a tad that way, just kind of make that a little easier on myself. So. And now let's test fit our real seat handle. Get an idea. All right, and I think that is a pretty good fit, pretty good length. We can also test fit with our real seat. See how it fits over, and we have a perfect fit. So we just gotta get this glued up, and we'll get started on that. First, let's clean up some of our cork mess first. So very quick, easy process. We'll put up our reamers. And we'll clean up this fork bit. As I've said in previous videos, rod building can be a very, very messy hobby, but it is very enjoyable. All right, so that is ready to go. We're also gonna make sure our butt cap fits on the end cap there. So I do that in a second step, and I'll show you here in a minute why. So that's gonna fit pretty snug on there so that we know that that's gonna fit. And the other thing that we're gonna do is our winding checks. Now winding checks are gonna kind of, if you have kind of an ugly looking reaming job that you've done and there's little bits in there that don't look like it fits and it doesn't really look that great, that is a good way to kind of cover those up and hide it, and it just adds a nice accent piece to your job as in general. So what we're gonna do is these little winding checks, we're gonna grab a couple of those and see which ones fit. So I think this one here is a good one. We're gonna pull that all the way out. All the way around, down, and there we go. So that will get glued right in place as I glue this rod up. And let's get the second one as well. Complete it. There. All right, so let's go ahead and pull this rod into place, or everything where it needs to be out of the way. Okay. So like we said before, we're going to mix up our pro paste 50-50 parts. And again, you want to make sure to clean up and make sure you are not mixing this within itself and putting the cap on the right one. That's the one thing that the pro paste does well, is the color coding. Is that it's probably a little much. You don't need that much. The pro paste is color coded, so it's easy to put the lid back on the correct vial. Now I can tell you from experience, if you put the lid back on the wrong vial, you're not getting that lid back off. So blue goes back to blue and red goes back to red. That's important to remember. Now this one here does the same thing. Black goes on red, white goes on white. Makes it very easy. So makes it easy to not make any mistakes and have to buy a whole new set of glue. Let's get our other component to this. That seems to be about right. I think I'm gonna want a little bit more. Actually, it's kind of hard sometimes until you get it mixed. And how you're gonna know you mixed it right is you're gonna get like a chalky color. So I'm gonna mix this up. It's gonna be like a white chalky color when it's all said and done. So you can see this is kind of a brown. That means I probably have too much of the hardening agent. So what I want to do, I'm going to go ahead and grab a second spatula to save myself a little bit of headache. Grab ourselves a second spatula. And now I'm going to add just a little bit more of this. And we'll clean up all of our tools here in a second. So mix this in there. There we go. Now we're getting a more whitish color as opposed to this beige. Okay. Ooh, as I make a mess. And that will happen. As you build rods, the more rods you build, the more messes you are going to make. It's going to happen. I'm going to leave the mistakes in here as I make them, because I want you to see what happens as you actually build rods. And you can see that even as you get experience, you'll still make mistakes from here and there. I don't care how experienced of a rod builder you are, you're gonna make mistakes somewhere, and that's okay. Like one of my favorite TV shows, Bob Ross used to say, happy little accidents, happy little trees. Okay, so let's go ahead. We're gonna put this on right here. We don't want a thick coat of it, just kind of enough. It's gonna coat that rod blank. It's also gonna pull it down as well as I pull that reel seat down. So we can pull that in place. Okay, so there's the bottom portion. Now for this here, I like to fill up the bottom cap of this as well when I put it on, because what that's also going to do is that's also going to fill that extra space in the butt of the rod. So not only is it going to secure it to this tenon, but it's also going to bond to the inside of that rod blank as well. So as I push that in, pull that down just a tad more to make sure that tenon fits. Now, there we go. Clean up my glue line here with my tool, and then use some alcohol. You will go through plenty of isopropyl alcohol and paper towel, plenty of it. Okay, so then let's go ahead and put a little bit of glue where might actually have some already. So I'm gonna use this little bit of this tool here to separate that, make sure I can, there we go. And I don't want to use a ton here because it doesn't need a lot in this little space, because it's even gonna get a little bit of some epoxy over it when it's all said and done. So that's just gonna hold that spot in place, and then I'm gonna clean up my edge. Get rid of the glue lines. And fill in that space. Okay, now for the other reel seat. We're going to put that down onto our rod blank. And I'm putting them in my CRB stands as well, because again, that keeps it up off the table and less glue mess. And where was my tape line? I had tape here somewhere. Let's go ahead and pull our handle into place. That looks good, right where I wanted it. clean up a little bit of your mess. Just leave just a tad bit for your winding check. We'll pull that in place. And now clean up the excess. And that's it. Your handle is assembled. Next, the next video will be assembling the rear seat, and I'll show you how to get started on that in the next video. If you have any questions, please leave a comment. If you have any comments, questions, concerns, please let me know. I'll be more than happy to create more videos in the future. Like and subscribe, and always click the notification bell so you can get notifications for upcoming videos. Thank you. Have a great day, guys.